very good evening and welcome to Third Degree. Today is a shameful one for our adolescent democracy. The Protection of Information Bill was passed in Parliament. It is a piece of legislation that represents a direct bid to dismantle our hard-won democratic rights. I've always been proud of the fact that South Africa has one of the most free and progressive constitutions in the world. A constitution which upholds many important human rights principles, including freedom of speech. And I constantly tell critics of our country just how wonderful it is that since the demise of apartheid, journalists like myself and the Third Degree team are free to practice our craft without fear or favor. Many of the investigations we have undertaken over the past 11 years, which have genuinely made a difference, would not have been possible under this new legislation. It is now possible that many acts of evil can be covered up by this law, and without a public interest defense clause, the free flow of information could be stunted. But it's not too late. President Zuma can submit this bill to the Constitutional Court for ratification before signing it into law. And if this doesn't happen, you can be sure that we will back all moves to have the highest court of the land declare it the undemocratic piece of legislation it is. And with that, we move into tonight's show, an interview with Julius Malema. First, a little background.
We remain relevant, also that we need to organize, mobilize and educate young people.
We'll call you again and tell you about another action which will be more militant and radical.
We'll have Mbeki removed. He's going. Doesn't matter who says what. Mbeki will not be a president of this country when we go to elections.
Let the minister use that fake accent to address our problems. We don't read about poverty. We lived poverty. We are children of domestic workers. We know what it means to go home and don't find a meal.
Motormouth, populist, rebel-rouser. Julius Malema, known for speaking his mind in spite of the consequences, he advocated for radical economic policy changes, like the nationalization of mines and land expropriation without compensation.
It's important that the ANC takes a radical position about that. The ANC ought to take the mines.
For years, it seemed no one could touch Malema. Then the unthinkable. 2 weeks ago, the young firebrand's political career was dealt a severe blow. In an unprecedented move, the ANC National Disciplinary Committee imposed a harsh sentence on him, suspending him from the party for 5 years.
The respondent shall vacate his position as president of the ANC Youth League.
So where to now for the firebrand leader? Does he have the power to force a political solution, or is his recent tough talk a last desperate attempt to cling to that power? And we're joined by the man himself here live on Third Degree. Thank you so much for joining us, Julius.
Thank you for inviting us.
In 2008, you said, and I quote, "We are prepared to die for Zuma. We will take up arms and kill for Zuma." Now, whether you meant this figuratively or literally, are you still prepared to kill for
Look,
Zuma?
that was a commitment to the cause. It was never meant for literal meaning, and there was no call to arms and calling for anybody's blood.
But figuratively, would you kill for Zuma?
A commitment to a cause meant that we'll do everything in our power to emerge victorious. And it was more beyond an individual, but the commitments of the movement and using the face of that revolution at the time to show that commitment. We are still committed to the ANC.
You would still kill for Zuma or
no,
the ANC?
I've had a commitment with human rights not to use that word again, so I might not use it here.
Okay, well, let's come at it another way. Do you support a second term presidency for Jacob Zuma?
That debate is banned in the ANC. It's not opened until they say so.
Let me play something for you. I want you to have a look at this. let's go to this soundbite.
Yeah.
Viva ANC, viva! Viva President Mandela, viva! Viva President Mbeki, viva! Viva President Motlanthe, viva! Manda! Manda! Long live the ANC, long live! Thank you very much, comrades.
Is a name missing there? Why didn't you viva Jacob Zuma viva?
I don't see how it helps the question of a second term on that one, because those are salutations. And
but Zuma's a sitting president, and you didn't say viva Jacob Zuma.
There's no one name missing. There was no name of Lituli. There was no name of O.R. Tambo. It depends on the mood of a person at that time and the names that you can remember at that time. As you make
so Zuma just slipped your mind?
It was never deliberate not to call the name of a sitting president.
What are your issues with the Zuma presidency?
I've never raised any issues with President Zuma's
So you're happy with his
style.
presidency? You think he's a good president?
President Zuma is a president. He deserves to be respected and be given a space and support to conclude his term as a president of the ANC and that of the country. And without our support, he will fail to execute his responsibilities.
So let's have a look at this then. Let's have a look at another little soundbite which looks at this very issue. Do you want to translate what they're singing for me?
No, but translate it. It's you who's playing it.
It means we are changing Zuma's reign in Sotho.
No, it doesn't say that.
Well, I have Sotho members speaking, members of my team.
No,
so
it doesn't say that.
What is your version of it?
The song which was started and sang there by those comrades doesn't say, even have a word Zuma. Yes.
So this means?
That means change.
I go to soccer.
That means change.
Okay,
that means
we
change.
know what that means. Substitute.
Yes,
it's
means
when a
change.
player is on the field and you want to substitute
that
them.
means change.
Right.
But that song, it has got swear words in it. And if I were to sing it here on television, I will be in trouble.
Let's not get into the singing thing because we don't want any more.
What happens is that when they start that nice song, others will opportunistically start bringing names of leaders, and we even call them to order for doing that. But the song on its own, without putting names of any leader, it's not a song for President Zuma.
But we all know what that means because it was used at Polokwane when you wanted Thabo Mbeki to go.
That means change, yes. And that march,
so what do you want to change?
That march you are playing there was March for Change. We need change. We need radical policy positions, both from
So what is wrong with the government's policy positions right now?
You know that we are advocating for nationalization of mines, expropriation of land without compensation.
Because you want the eradication of poverty.
We want creation of jobs and equal sharing of the wealth in the country. So all those are a call for change. And we're not going to be scared of change. A change might be painful, but it is necessary.
But you want those changes because you want the eradication of poverty.
Absolutely.
Which is what the government's stated aim is. Their policy is the eradication of poverty. The ANC's policy is the eradication of poverty.
And we're agreeing that much more still needs to be done in eradicating poverty. The current laws as it relates to mining, as it relates to land, as it relates to education, they are not being helpful.
And as it stands now, nationalization is not the policy of the ANC.
If it was a policy of the ANC, we're not going to call for nationalization because it will be a policy. The fact that we're calling for it it means we want it to be a policy of
In
the
fact,
ANC.
Malema Motlanthe said last week that the views of individuals on these questions do not amount to policy. He
Yes.
said it was like the Chinese proverb, the sound of one tree falling in a forest is far louder than those left standing. I mean, clearly this is a dig at the Youth League.
No, it's
It
not.
clearly
it's,
is.
it's
Come on,
not,
let's be
it's
specific
not,
here. He went on
Deborah.
to say that policy gets repeated over and over again, but what South Africa hears are the sound bites of individuals. Clearly he's talking about you.
No.
You're the only person who makes sound bites about nationalization.
No, I'm not the only person. The ANC Youth League is making those pronouncements. NUMSA, NUM, Mwelezi Mbeki speaks about those things. So I'm not the only person. But
It's
President Malema Motlanthe has got all the right to express his opinions. And we are going into the policy conference of the ANC, and resolutions will be taken at that level. So everybody, let people express themselves. President Malema Motlanthe speaks about this because we have spoken about it, and we are happy that we are getting presidential responses. Many people talk, presidents never respond to them. So we are happy we are responded by presidents. It means we've got an impact.
Okay, we're going to take a break there. When we come back, more from our guest tonight, Julius Malema. And you are back with Third Degree. We're talking to our guest tonight, Julius Malema, after his suspension of 5 years from the ANC. Julius, let's pick up with the actual suspension itself. You've said that it's political. Why?
Many leaders of the ANC have spoken about the harsh sentence not being solved, we're going to be tough, a line has been crossed, and then after making all those remarks, then you establish a disciplinary process to then justify and legitimize the things that you have said. If there was a suspicion of a line being crossed or transgression, such should have been communicated to the DC, and for DC to investigate through its disciplinary processes and find out if the transgression was committed. But there were pronouncements
why do you think it's
before.
political?
It's political because others fear change.
Who?
Some in the leadership of the ANC.
Who in the ANC fears change? Who specifically fears change?
No, it's not going to be necessary for me to mention.
It is going to be necessary because I don't know who fears change.
When you reduce yourself to names, at this level you are becoming petty.
But you say they're enemies within the ANC. Who are your enemies?
No, I'm saying and the enemies are those that have always conspired against us and wanted our downfall.
But the enemy's changed over the years because the enemy used to be Thabo Mbeki. You got rid of Thabo Mbeki, okay? Now he's the best president we've ever had.
He was never an enemy.
Well,
no,
you
he was
were
never
I mean, we saw some harsh words at the beginning.
I know.
About your bid to get rid of Thabo Mbeki. You went round the country mobilizing.
I know what I said about
him.
President Thabo Mbeki, and I've got no regrets about those. And I know what I've said about President Zuma. I've got no regrets about those. So the point I'm making is that you will know, Debora, that when we are in politics, there will always be contradictions. But we never thought that within and amongst our leadership, there can be people who degenerate to a point of destroying young people. There's always been tolerance in the African National Congress, especially of the youth, and there's always been mentorship and deliberate political education programs by the old to educate the young.
But why is it political? What don't they like about you? This nameless enemy.
No, look, there are people who are scared of change. It might be change of leadership. It might be change in policy.
What change of leadership? Who says there's going to be a change of leadership? You said that hasn't even been debated.
You know, people.
How do they know you want to change leadership if you haven't debated it?
People imagine things and believe in their own imaginations. And it doesn't matter how many times you reassure them that there's no such a thing because they have built it in their own minds.
So they're imagining that you don't want to see Zuma stand for a second term.
You are bringing names of very senior leaders
he's
of the
the leader.
ANC.
I mean, that's what change would mean.
No, change wouldn't mean.
Do you want Gwede
President
Mantashe to go?
Zuma to be removed? In the ANC, leadership is collective, and to want to attribute leadership to one individual is very problematic.
Then how can it be political then? Why would they then bother to get rid of you if you're just one person in a whole group of people? Why this big move to get rid of Julius Malema if they're scared of leadership change?
It's not Julius Malema. You must know that The whole leadership of the Youth League is suspended, and some of their suspensions are suspended, which literally strips them of powers to engage on a radical program. Myself and the spokesperson of the Youth League effectively were suspended. So people who can engage politically, the program that the Youth League is advocating for...
But you weren't charged with advocating economic freedom. You were charged with sowing division and bringing the ANC into disrepute.
Do you know that there are people who said, for these policies, I will do everything in my power to ensure that they don't happen? Not in my lifetime.
Who said that?
And no, I mean, I said to you, I'm not going to mention name. You can try many times.
I'm going to try many times because I think it's cowardly not to mention
No,
names.
It's not cowardly. It's political. You don't degenerate to mentioning names of people.
But it's clear you want Jacob Zuma to go, and it's clear you want Fikile Mbalula to be the Secretary General.
In a discourse, it is always discouraged to reduce a debate on principle to certain individuals.
Well, the point is, if you don't name the individuals, I can't challenge you as to whether or not they do support your aims or not. Are you saying that this so-called dark force enemy, because we had the same thing with Thabo Mbeki, the enemy, are you saying that this enemy doesn't support economic change and the eradication of poverty?
They are co-opted.
By who?
By monopoly capital.
By which monopoly capital?
They enjoy dinners with monopoly capital and reassure monopoly capital.
But you have had dinners with monopoly capital?
Who? Were you there?
No, but you've had dinners with people who are wealthy. You went to Mauritius.
No, so you call that one monopoly capital?
Well, I mean, he's certainly rich.
No,
okay, to
but
afford such a lavish wedding.
It's not it doesn't belong to that category of monopoly capital. It doesn't own the means of production.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the means of production debate again. Okay, we're not going to go there.
No, it's
because
okay,
you and I disagree about Tokyo Sefala being a capitalist, right? You don't think he is.
No. Tokyo is at an entry level of that class.
It's an entry level of the capitalism.
He has committed a class suicide.
Okay, and Patrice Motsepe, he's a capitalist, right?
He's an advanced, black oligarch.
Are they your enemies?
No, I will never say particular individuals are my enemies.
In fact, Tokyo Sefala is your big supporter.
And that's why I speak about a monopoly capital. And you will want me to say, who's monopoly capital? I can't do that. The principle is monopoly capital, which has benefited from the past and which continue to benefit, refuses change and co-opt those who are supposed to fight for change into opposing change.
Okay, we're going to take a break there, and when we come back, more from Julius Malema.
Thank you.
Third Degree's back. We're here with Julius Malema, suspended from the ANC Youth League for 5 years, from the ANC as a whole. Julius, let's get back into the hearing that you claim was political because people are opposed to your economic views. Essentially, if your sentence is upheld, you won't be going to Mangaung. Now, you can argue with me that this is not a political battle with Zuma. We're going to have to disagree because it clearly, from my perspective, is. And from my perspective, Zuma has won. He's won this game, love, set and match. You are out. The ANC says, we don't want you.
If the ANC comes to that determination, it's okay.
They have. They've come to that determination.
No,
they've said we don't want you.
No, the matter is still going to the appeals committee.
But so far as it stands, they've said we don't want you.
No, I was in the ANC National Working Committee yesterday with President Zuma. And I'm going to the National Executive Committee of the ANC this weekend in Bloemfontein. So the matter is still in process. So if people can just chill and relax until the processes are exhausted, I've no problem at all. Even at the end of everything else, they say, well, we've listened to you. We don't want you. You must go home and look after cattle. I have no problem. I've made my contribution, and I'll continue to make my contribution in the small corner I occupy wherever.
Last week you were saying the gloves are off.
Yes, we are fighting. We are fighting.
You're going to fight from the cattle.
We are unshaken. I'm saying every little corner I occupy, I will make a contribution. A leader is anybody who has got, even one follower.
But
You are leading that,
you'll be outside the
follow.
organization. You won't be in the
But
ANC, so you'll have no
I will
ANC
remain a supporter
followers.
of the ANC.
Yes, but you won't be a member of the ANC.
Well, but I will be a supporter of the ANC. I will be in Mangaung January 8 if they expel me before that. I will be in the grandstands wearing ANC T-shirt.
Doing what?
My blood supporting the African National Congress. My blood remains black, green and gold.
Your blood may remain black, green and gold, but they're saying to you,
card.
we don't want your black, green and gold blood.
No, they've
That's
not.
what they're saying,
They've
Julius.
not said that so far.
Well, actually they have. They've suspended you for 5 years.
No, you are impatient. Just be patient.
I'm not impatient.
It will get
You think
there.
you're gonna
if
win
it
the
is
appeal?
get there. I'm confident that
On what
will
grounds?
emerge because of many reasons that we have advanced, including the refusal to give us an opportunity to lead evidence in mitigation.
But it's not a court of law. It's a disciplinary hearing.
No,
it's not bound by the same constraints.
No, the Secretary General of the ANC, when he was giving evidence, they asked him, why do you charge these people even when they've apologized on Botswana and the badging? And he said they will raise that point in mitigation. It means there was a legitimate expectation even from the complainant himself.
Do you feel used by the ANC? Because
No.
you were their sharpshooter.
They didn't call me. I came voluntarily, and I don't remember why. I mean, I don't remember a day where a person gave me a speech.
But wasn't your power borrowed? You borrowed your power from Jacob Zuma.
No.
You were under his shadow, you were doing his bidding, and
No.
you were doing the work of the ANC in helping them get rid of Thabo Mbeki.
Then you were not looking at those pictures. Yes, maybe they must replay them for you, because I spoke when I was still very young.
Are you bigger than the ANC?
I'm not bigger than the ANC.
But
the
you
ANC
act
is
like
bigger
you're bigger than the ANC.
No, the ANC is bigger than all of us.
And they've now shown you that they are bigger, and they've smacked you down.
They've always shown me. There's never been a point where I doubted that the ANC is bigger than me. But to say that I survived because of our closeness with President Zuma is incorrect. That influence comes with the office of the President of the Youth League. Same things, many things were said about President Mbalula and President Peter Mokaba.
Yeah. But now you no longer have that office.
I'm still there.
You're outside the ANC. You've lost that support.
I was in the National Working Committee yesterday
Yes, we went
of
through
the
that
ANC
already.
and the NEC.
I know that you're still there,
but
but by next week you could be out.
But it looks like you take long to understand. That's why I must repeat. I'm still there in the ANC. Relax, Debora. I know you can't hold back your excitement, but that time will come where you celebrate nicely.
I'm not celebrating. We're going to miss your utterances on the political scene. That's for sure.
No.
Julius, just in terms of the issue around the future, what do you do now? You're going to enter the corporate world?
I'm in corporate world.
Is On Point a capitalist monopoly capital?
No, it's a small
It's an
emerging
entry-level
consulting.
monopoly capital.
It's not even at the entry level. It's still trying to find its way into the most difficult corporate world. It is going to be one of the options I have, and that's why I fight to remain in politics. You know, if they were to ask me to bargain for the president of the Youth League and the membership of the ANC, I would even resign as a president of the Youth League to retain the membership of the ANC, because I don't know any other game except politics of the African National Congress. I can't even work in a restaurant or anywhere else.
Don't worry, we can teach you.
Because
we're going to have to end
the
there.
ANC
Thank you
is
very
my
much
home.
for joining us.
Thank you very
Julius
much.
Malema, that's it for tonight. As always, we welcome your comments and your views. There are plenty of ways to keep in touch. Fax us 011-880-8883. Email us on thirddegree@etb.co.za. And we're on Facebook. There is Twitter. Until next week, goodbye.